Thanks for listening to me. We're going to be talking about landlords today. There's beginners and people that have already begun and they're trying to grow what they have and add properties. And then those that are on cruise control and everything is working fine. But what we're seeing is a larger number of landlords, about 5 to 8% of the total, who want to get out, but they have no desire to get burned with taxes. Nobody ever said that it was going to be easy. And what started out as a hobby has morphed into being a business. And with this business have come vacancy problems and turnover problems and repairs and way too much time expended, tenant confrontations, attitude, emergencies, maintenance reserves, working into the middle of the night, not much fun. But the really scary thing that's happening and will threaten your business or your hobby are more and more regulations that we're seeing almost weekly now. These are local, state, federal, rent control, tenant qualification, evictions, something called landlord harassment. I bet you're not familiar with that. The courts aren't very friendly either. They're always pro-tenant. The lenders aren't in your favor either because they're telling you can't evict people and they're still going to charge you the interest on the loan. There's a threat to end 1031 benefits, and capital gains treatment is not very good if you decide to pack it all in and get out. How about San Francisco? You know what they did up there? They said that if you have 5 or more units in a building, that the tenants have the right to create a union to negotiate with you. And finally, with all this going on, tell me how interested your heirs and your wife, how anxious are they to keep going? The monetary issues. A lot of people think they're making a lot of money and they never realize and they never take into account all the negative cash that's going out every month. And expenses always seem to be higher, don't they? You know, it turns out that your return on investment in a rental property oftentimes is negative without appreciation in a sale. And if you sell, the government takes 25% of the capital gain at the sale, about that when you include the recapture of depreciation. It's really tough to refinance. 1031 problems, no cash out. All you do there is you switch addresses, but you still have the same problems. And I'll tell you what, attorneys are not lowering their fees for evictions, and neither are the accountants. Monetary issues is a big deal. Well, you got some choices. You can grin and bear it and do nothing. Hope for the best, but you should expect a lot less. You can 1031 into another property, but you're going to have sales costs involved. You're going to have 1031 costs, and you're not going to have any cash. Okay, you know about boot and everything else. 1031 into a DST, while it seems like a good idea, and there are a lot of people out there that are pitching it right now, the reality is that about 15% is going to be pulled off the top for cost to get into it. Finally, I guess you could sell, take the hit, pay the cost, pay the taxes, and move on, and maybe your heirs would love that. It's not a smart thing to do, and it certainly doesn't represent what we call generational investing. Guess what? There's a new guy in town, and gives you the ability to convert a family rental into a profitable investment for generations and leave the problems behind. How do we do all this stuff? What is this all about? Here's what we do. We create a joint venture between an investor, a landlord like you, and an occupant that we have vetted. We're talking about quality people that have been vetted, and you're going to see 3 or 4 of them before you make any kind of a decision. And we call this relationship that you will have with them something called equity sharing. A co-vestor, that's the guy that you agreed to. You like him. He buys a minority equity interest in your property. He pays all the property costs and taxes and maintains the property. He participates in the future growth of the property. You and this co-vestor are going to be joined at the hip for the benefit of both of you going off into the misty future. There's a very detailed agreement that's required that we put together with counsel that covers all the details of that relationship. Finally, we manage the relationship between you and the co-vestor for the length of that agreement. The landlord and tenant regulations and laws, they don't apply to co-owners. They only apply to renters, meaning they're gone. Co-vestor covers all the property payments and expenses. So all the dollar issues about negative cash, blah, blah, it's gone. And payments are to a third-party servicing company so that all payments are on time. That benefits you, and that's going to benefit the co-investor as well. Remember, he has skin in the game. He's like an on-site manager looking after his investment. He invested. So you're not going to be having any tenant issues. It's a mutual relationship formed in the beginning. And if you guys don't like each other and you can't form a relationship and you can't get an agreement together, then we don't go forward. The risk all of a sudden shifts from a landlord like you to the co-investor because he has money involved, just like you. It's an easy generational continuance for heirs and beneficiaries. As I said, we manage the relationship for the duration, and we will buy out the co-investor's interest if something goes wrong. We have a consultant. He's an attorney, and he's done 6,000 transactions. We have limited ourselves to cities in California, first-time home buyers. There are parents and children that are doing something like this for college housing so that they can share tax benefits and appreciation. Pastors and churches. And finally, there are companies out there that are using equity sharing, joint venturing, as a recruiting benefit. In the fall of 2019, Harvard, they have a housing division at Harvard that studies the housing industry, and they said if capital could be found for a down payment, 6 million new owners would own homes. Remember, it hasn't changed in 50 years. They endorse co-vesting as shared equity as a solution. Those candidates that they referenced, really, they're renters now. The people we're going to be talking to are renters as well. And we estimate 10 to 15% of the renters can raise sufficient cash immediately. Again, it's not having to do with I can't afford the down payment. It has to do I can't go through the loan qualification process. It's timely and it's discouraging. Then there's another person named Brad Inman. He has a company called Inman.com. You can look him up. He's a real estate industry guru, and he predicts that co-vesting will be a major factor in real estate by 2030. He estimates that over 1 million single-family transactions will occur near term. By now, you're probably asking, is this approved? Is it legal? Is it kosher? Is it okay? Well, the California Association of Realtors, and we are one, provided a legal services memorandum in March of 2008 having to do with equity sharing, stating that they thought it was a very good alternative for people that were challenged and that might have some issues to help them get into home ownership. Also, there's an IRS code that covers this, USC 280A. We're a licensed California real estate broker and have been for, 10 years, 12 years now. And we have a nationally known Tenants in Common Equity Share Authority as one of our consultants. That's our little introduction to equity sharing and joint venturing, and it's our solution. And we've looked at other entities, other methods of people getting to home ownership, and there's not a better one. This is it. We only cover the tip of the iceberg, but when we meet, we can show you how we can actually personalize this for you. You'll get a better ROI on your investment. You'll eliminate those tenant and regulatory impediments, and you will finally realize a real generational investment that your heirs and assigns will love. Thank you so much for your time.